If the Blue Jackets want to win tonight, then we're going to need to see a complete 60-minute effort from them, and I'm not sure that they can do that. So let's discuss on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. Let's talk about the Blue Jackets. They play tonight, despite my preference that they not. They play the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, who they faced in, I want to say, December, and it didn't go great for the Blue Jackets. That, I believe, was they had a 2-1 lead, and they let it get away from them. Yep, sure enough, Blue Jackets up 2-1. At 4:49 of the third period, and then the Golden Knights win 3-2 in regulation on Brayden McNabb's first goal of the season. So again, not a great start to the season series. Blue Jackets are going to finish it off tonight, second and last time they'll face the Golden Knights this season. But I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some guys making their debuts tonight. It sounds like Egor Zamula is going to be making his Blue Jackets debut, and it sounds also like Mikael Pyyhtia is going to be making his Blue Jackets season debut as well. He's been very good in the AHL, so I want to talk about that. And we'll talk about the game as a whole, because it's going to be, I feel like I say this every time, but I feel like it's going to be stupid. And I have no real logic for why it's going to be stupid this time. I have a sense. So let's get into it. The Vegas Golden Knights are okay. I realized this while I was doing prep for this episode just now, is the Blue Jackets and the Golden Knights have basically the same amount of wins and losses. The Blue Jackets have one more loss. So regardless of regulation or overtime or whatever, the Blue Jackets have 18 wins and 24 losses. If I'm doing my math right, which I think I am. I double-checked it. The Vegas Golden Knights have 18 wins and 23 losses. However, 12 of those losses have come in overtime, so they've got 5 more overtime losses than the Blue Jackets, which gives them an extra 5 points in the standings. And also, because the Metro is stupid and also the Western Conference is stupid, those 5 point, that 5-point difference is the Blue Jackets being at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference, and the Vegas Golden Knights are the first seed in the Pacific. They are at the top of their division, despite the fact that they have the same number of wins as the Blue Jackets, who are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. This sport is stupid. In terms of the Vegas Golden Knights, they're on a bit of a downslide at the minute. They're 2-5-3 in their last 10 games, and their only wins have come against the San Jose Sharks and the Winnipeg Jets, who they beat in overtime. Not last night, but the night before, I think. So that's obviously not like a great series of a stretch of the last 10 games. Obviously, the Blue Jackets are not great in their last X amount of games, but they've won 3 of their last 6, and they've got points in 4 of their last 6. So, it's a much better, more recent stretch than the Golden Knights have. They've just got done with a 5-game losing streak, where they lost to Colorado, Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, and Chicago before then beating the Winnipeg Jets in overtime. So they're on kind of a downslide at the minute. That doesn't mean that this is going to be an easy game for the Blue Jackets by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not like they're facing like a red-hot Vegas team. I think these two teams are much closer than I think the standings would suggest, and I also think that the Blue Jackets are a team that, I say this a lot, right? They play to the level of their opponent. They can't do that tonight. because I do think that if they play to the level of the Golden Knights, then they probably will lose. They have to play their own game, which doesn't always work, as we've seen this season, right? I feel like we talk a lot about how the Blue Jackets have to play their game, but unfortunately right now their game is showing up for 40 out of 60 minutes and hoping for the best. In the game against the Sharks, they decided that maybe they would take the second period off instead of the third period and see how that worked for them, and it turns out not great. Credit where it's due. Alex Nedeljkovic had a great game for the Sharks, and also the score was a lot closer than it looks, right? Like, it wasn't a 5-2 loss, it was a 3-2 loss with 2 empty net goals. And as we all know on this show, empty net goals don't count. But a loss is a loss, right? It doesn't matter if you lose by 2 or lose by 5. Blue Jackets lose. And they'll lose again tonight if they play the same way that they did against the Sharks. Like, again, I don't think the Golden Knights are a great team, especially in recent stretches. They're a better team than the Sharks, I think. And they are a team that can and will beat the Blue Jackets, as we've seen already this season, right? They are a team that scores a lot on the power play. They score a medium amount in general. It's honestly in the Blue Jackets' best interest, I think, to try and keep this one at 5-on-5, which is a lot easier said than done, especially when you look at the Blue Jackets penalty differential recently. I believe they got 2 power plays against the Sharks. I'm going to pull up that game real quick, but they didn't get any against the Penguins. They got 1 against the Sabres, and that was kind of it, right? I'm just looking up the penalty minutes if I can. But the point I'm making here is it's in the Blue Jackets' best interest to be a team that plays at 5-on-5. They got 3 penalties. Yeah, they got 3 penalties in the game. And they went over 3 on them, which obviously is not great. But, like, the Blue Jackets also took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They took 5. So they got out power played 5-3, which I believe, if I'm doing my math right, means that it is 13-4 has been the penalty differential for the Blue Jackets in the last 3 games. So they've taken 13 penalties and drawn 4. That doesn't feel sustainable, right? But also you can't be doing all that. You have to be better than that. That being said, it's in that, like I said, it's in their best interest to keep this at 5-on-5. The Golden Knights have the 5th best power play in the league and the 7th best penalty kill. So I don't know that the Blue Jackets are going to have success at special teams. Be nice if they did, but I'm not convinced that they are going to. That being said, they have been very good on the penalty kill recently. I believe of those 13 power plays, 2 of them have resulted in goals, which means they've killed 11 of 13, which I believe is above a 90% success rate. I can't do the math on that on the fly because this is Locked on Blue Jackets. We don't do math here. So the penalty kill has been good in these games of crime, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to keep burning them, right? It burnt them in the game against Pittsburgh. That was the goal that let the Penguins back into the game, really. And it gave the Sharks a 2-0 lead in the game on Tuesday night. So, yes, it's been good. Can be better. If you keep taking penalties, it's going to burn you, especially against a team with a good power play like the Vegas Golden Knights. That's just straight up how it is, right? In terms of goaltending, we'll talk about that in a second. Actually, we'll take a quick break. Then when we get back, we'll talk about the goaltending because I think it's going to be the same goaltending matchup as it was the last time these teams faced each other in Columbus. So we'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked on Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about Rocket Money. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track down every transaction or hunt down those hidden fees? And that's where Rocket Money comes in. It's the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I loved using Rocket Money because I'm really good at getting a free trial for something and then forgetting to cancel it. So I will, I'll enjoy my week's free trial of whatever, and then 8 months later, I'll be like, why am I paying $15.99 for this thing? And it turns out that it was a thing that I paid for a free trial of months ago and just didn't cancel. So Rocket Money's really great at letting me know, hey, you are paying for all of these things every month. You don't need to do all that. And so I get to cancel them. And it means that I get to save a bunch of money that I can spend on fun things like road trips or hockey games. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's discuss goaltending. The Blue Jackets goaltending has been very good recently, by which I mean Jet Greaves has been very good recently. He was let down in the Pittsburgh game. He's been let down in a lot of games. Let's be brutally honest here. But despite that, he's still been extremely good. In his last 7 starts, he's got a below 900 save percentage once, and it was that Pittsburgh game where the Blue Jackets did absolutely nothing to help him. And that overtime winner was Sidney Crosby, who there's only so much you can do about that, right? But again, even in San Jose, 3 goals on 34 shots in 912 save percentage. If only this team had realized that you can score more than 2 goals in a game, that would have been a much different game. And yes, credit to Alex Nedeljkovic, who had a very good game, but not to discredit Jet Greaves, who I think also had a very good game. So it's going to be Greaves starting tonight. We haven't seen Elvis in a while. I suspect we'll see him this weekend. I don't know against who. I still kind of think you start Elvis against Colorado, and because you think that you have a better chance to beat the Mammoth, so you put your better goalie in to beat the Mammoth. I don't know, but I assume we'll see Elvis this weekend. If we don't see Elvis this weekend, I think we're going to have like a much bigger conversation about the Blue Jackets goaltending, because this is unsustainable for Jet Greaves, in my opinion. Like, I know that he's a kid that loves to play and he wants to play a lot. And, you see it every season of these goalies that play, 60 out of the full 60 games out of the season. That doesn't feel like long-term success for me. But Jet Greaves, starting tonight, he's got a 9-10 on the season. Again, was very good in the loss to San Jose and has been very good in the 6 games before that. Sounds like the Vegas Golden Knights are going with Carter Hart again, who I believe did put in a decent performance against the Blue Jackets when they faced each other in Columbus. He had a 933, 2 goals on 30 shots. Since then, he's kind of struggled a little bit. He had one really great game against New Jersey, and then has been kind of mediocre for his last kind of 5 or 6 starts. An 850 in the win against Winnipeg, 3 goals on 20 shots. Previous to that, 4 goals on 19, 5 goals on 12, 5 goals on 39. He just hasn't been great in recent games for the Vegas Golden Knights, but he was good against the Blue Jackets, so who knows? Possibly he'll be good again against them. But in 11 games for the Golden Knights so far this season, he's got an 874 save percentage, which I personally would want that to be a little bit higher. The Golden Knights don't have great goaltending outside of Carter Hart, so it's not like it's super egregious to start him, I don't think, because the other 2 goalies, Kira Schmidt and Aiden Hill, have an 894 and an 888 respectively. But they're both allowing about half to 3/4 of a goal less per game than Carter Hart. So I don't know. I don't get it. They're going to keep running Hart out like the starting goalie, even though he probably shouldn't be the starting goalie. But hopefully the Blue Jackets can take advantage of that. Would love if they scored a bunch of goals tonight. I think that would be fun for me personally, and also fun for the team. Speaking of the team, there's some new guys in town. Mikael Pyyhtia was called up. I believe it wasn't an emergency call-up, just a regular call-up. He's going to be making his season debut. He continues to be really good for the Cleveland Monsters. He is tied for the team lead in scoring right now. He's got 22 points in 23 games for the Monsters. The other two guys are Luca Pinelli and Luca Del Barbaluz, who both have 22 points. So those are the engine for the Cleveland Monsters right now. I love to see Mikael Pyyhtia get rewarded for that because I think he's having a really, really great season. He, again, it's one of those guys that it's really easy to root for, right? Like fourth round draft pick back in 2020. Played a non-zero amount of hockey over the past couple of years for the Monsters. For the Blue Jackets, but has been really, really good this season. Feels like he's having a kind of a breakout season for the Monsters. He's 6 points away from his career high, which he set in the 23-24 season, in which he played 60 games. So he's done it in like 35 games less, and he's 6 points away. So he's on track for a career year by a big margin, which is fun and exciting. I love that for him. And I don't know that he's really gonna like be the difference maker in the game tonight, but I on the one hand, I'm like, man, switching up your bottom six is not going to magically make this team better, right? Like the bottom six hasn't been great, but I also don't think that that's how you fix the problems this team has. On the other hand, I love seeing one of the kids get a chance. I always like seeing Pyyhtia. He's a fun player to watch. He tries. Which is not something that you can say for every player on the Blue Jackets. So I'm interested to see what he does tonight. Sounds like he's going to be on the fourth line with Zach Aston-Reese and Brendan Gaunce. And I don't know that he's going to do much, but my goal for the fourth line is not for people to do a lot, right? The goal for the fourth line is to stop the other team from doing stuff. I ask for nothing from the fourth line. And when I say I ask for nothing, I mean I want nothing to happen. I'm not looking for offense from the fourth line. I'm looking for the other team to not do anything while the fourth line is on the ice. We'll see how that works out with Pyyhtia. The other addition is Egor Zamula, who's making his Blue Jackets debut. He's going to be coming in on the third pairing with Dante Fabro. I'm again intrigued by this. He is very, very, like I talked about in the little preview I did for his trade on, Tuesday afternoon. He is very, very defensive. You're not going to get a ton of offense from this guy, and I am absolutely fine with that. If he can solidify that third pairing and stop them from leaking goals, I am more than okay with it. And also, if the coach would like to play him more than 7 minutes a game, that would also be really, really good with me. So I'm, again, not looking for him to move the needle tonight. I'm looking for him to be not a complete liability when he's on the ice, and hopefully for him to play more than 10 minutes. Like, I would love to see 12 to 13 minutes out of Zamula tonight that are not actively on fire, because we've seen a lot of very bad minutes from a lot of defensemen this season. So if Zamula can come in and not be actively on fire, that would be just fine with me. Let's take another quick break, and then when we get back, we'll do predictions for tonight, because we haven't done those yet. I thought I'd done them and then was like, no, we're talking about Zamula. It's been a long day. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about predictions for the game. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Before we get into predictions, I want to let you guys know about the Everydayers Club. For $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get ad-free episodes, access to the members-exclusive Discord, and also a exclusive merch store to get Locked On swag, which I think is pretty neat. So if you want to support the show, if you want to get, if you have ad fatigue, which I know a lot of people do, $5 a month gives you all Locked On Blue Jackets episodes, bonus content, everything, for $5 a month. So if you feel like signing up, then go to lockedonbluejackets.supercast.com and you can find the Everydayers Club there. Let's talk about predictions, because again, I'm on kind of a rough stretch at the minute. I had a hot streak a couple of games ago where I got a couple of goals right. And since then, it's been a little bit rough. So let's talk about who I think is going to score for the Blue Jackets. I know a lot of guys that I need to score. And it's basically everyone that's not Zach Werenski, who is currently has 5 points in his last 5 games. He is, again, continuing to go above and beyond in many ways. He's got 45 points in 38 games, which I believe, unless Cale Makar had like a crazy night last night, which I'm not counting out, Zach Werenski, I believe, is 3 points behind him in the scoring race, having played 4 fewer games. I'm just pulling that up. He's played 4 fewer games than Cale Makar, and has 3 fewer points. So that's fun, I think, personally. But the point is, I would like some scoring from anyone that's not Zach Werenski. I would like the Zach Werenski scoring to continue, but I would love to get scoring from some other guys. Again, it's been a while since we've had an Adam Fantilli goal. Krolmachenko is floating around about being a point a game, but has kind of fallen off, and I don't think he's completely healthy right now. I think he's good enough, right? But would love to see a goal or two from Mr. Marchenko. Basically everyone, right? That isn't Zach Werenski. Obviously, it's tough with Mason Marchment being out. It sounds like he's going to be out for a little while. He's on IR and he's day to day. But I believe IR means you have to miss at least a week, if I'm not mistaken. And they put him on IR like 2 days ago, so I don't think we're going to see him for the rest of this trip. We might see him when the Blue Jackets get back into town on Tuesday of next week. I think is probably the next game that he's eligible to play in, if I'm not mistaken. But that means you're going to have to get your offense from somewhere else, because again, over the last handful of games, a lot of the offense was also coming from Mason Marchment. So where are you going to get your offense from? In the forwards. It's got to be that top line. Sounds like it's going to be Voronkov, Fantilli, Marchenko is the top line again, which I'm fine with. It's again, they switched to that line in the third period for the Blue Jackets, and suddenly shots started happening and offense started being generated. And it's crazy what happens when you put lines that are proven to be good together. And I like Jenna Monahan Johnson as a line as well. Like that to me is a very acceptable second line right now. Would love to see it kind of keep on getting going. I picked Jenna for my goal in last night's game, or the Tuesday's game, the Sharks game. I picked Jenna. He did not get a goal. And I'm kind of torn between mixing it up and just, again, cyberbullying Boo Jenner until he gets a goal. And I think I am going to mix it up. And I think I am going to go ahead and say Kirill Marchenko is going to get a goal tonight. I don't really have any thoughts about that beyond I just think it would be neat, but I have a feeling that Marchenko usually performs pretty well against the Golden Knights. So I'm going to go ahead and say a Kirill Marchenko goal. And in terms of the final score, man, it could be anything, right? Like it could be 6-5, it could be 6-2, it could be 1-0. Like I think I'm going to go with a 4-1 win. I don't know why, but I think I might just start manifesting the results I want for this team. Like, yeah, the Blue Jackets are going to win 4-1. Jet Greaves is going to be great. Everyone's going to have a great time. Krolmachenko hat trick. You love to see it. No, I think let's go a 4-1 Blue Jackets win with a Krolmachenko goal, and probably at least one of those goals is an empty net goal, which, as we all know, don't count, but they count on the scoreboard. So a 4-1 Blue Jackets win, Krolmachenko goal. Everyone goes home happy, but especially me. That's my prediction. Get your predictions in the YouTube comments down below, or there's going to be a post going up over on Twitter at @LO_Blue Jackets that you can put your predictions in as well. And we are coming up on, I think this is game 43, so we'll have another leaderboard update in a couple of games for you guys. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. And I want to thank you guys for making us the #1 sports podcast network as well. You can find me on Blue Sky at JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter and LO-Blue Jackets on Blue Sky. Thank you once again for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down tonight's game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know the drill. Until then, make sure you stay locked on.